Hello, my name is Marty Seibel, and I'm a paranormal investigator with Black Raven Paranormal here in Stanton, Virginia. I'm also the owner and founder of the Ghost of Stanton Walking Ghost Tours. We're trying something a little bit different here during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. Just something here in my man cave, here in my basement, to explain a little bit more about our ghost tours and our paranormal group. I want to thank Charlie for having us, or having me on, and giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit about such. Hopefully we'll be able to get together soon at a location and meet and talk in more detail about the group and the ghost tours. Currently we offer a variety of ghost tours through town. Anything from historic haunts to paranormal tours where we talk and we share a little bit about our data and equipment and some of the things we do in the field per se. We also have some very new tours coming this fall. One actually debuting here July the 3rd that we're quite excited about, a Civil War haunted tour throughout downtown Stanton. All of our tours feature history, haunted stories, paranormal experiences that people have been kind enough to share with us over the years. It's a blast. I encourage everybody to come out and see us. You can go to our website at ghostofstanton.com. The tours actually, they run on a sporadic basis now. You'd have to check our website, but the official season kicks off September and will run through about the middle of December. And tours will be going on at that time every weekend. Again, you can check our website at ghostofstanton.com for more information on all our ghost tours. They're a lot of fun, and there's not a better time to go on a ghost tour than October, and we would love to have you. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about Black Raven Paranormal and myself as a paranormal investigator. I've been a paranormal investigator for about 20 years now, and started out just as a simple hobby of staying at haunted B&Bs and taverns, anything you'd see on the History Channel. And it's been an incredible journey. I have been fortunate enough to travel all over the country with some really incredible people that I've met along the way, share plenty of paranormal experiences and happenings, capture some really good evidence and data, and just enjoy the traveling. Been all over. The group actually was founded, the paranormal group was actually founded in 2005, and it was called Shenandoah Valley Paranormal Society. Later on it was converted to Black Raven Paranormal. We've done anything from residential investigations here in town to a lot of traveling all over the country. Our most recent investigation was Penhurst Asylum, which is located just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in a little city called Spring City, Pennsylvania. I have a strong fondness for battlefields, Civil War history. I personally believe I'm a big history advocate. I don't think you can have one without the other. History and paranormal kind of go hand in hand. As far as Civil War battlefields and haunted locations, my favorite by all means is Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. But I do love a lot of the battlefields here in Virginia too. There's quite a resource of those throughout the state, and many of them haunted. I've been lucky enough over the years to capture evidence and data at some of these battlefields. For anyone wanting to get into the paranormal field, I highly recommend it. It's an incredible field. I would recommend doing some research online through various paranormal groups. Look for groups that have credible evidence by standards, rules, protocols that do follow the rules. There are a lot of things you don't want to do. And then I would suggest you research on pieces of equipment. Paranormal investigating can be very expensive, and basically you'll want to just kind of have a piece at a time or whatever your budget allows. I think one of the easiest pieces of evidence to capture in the field is audio. So I always encourage people that start out in the field to get a good audio recorder, something that records in stereo, something that's highly recommended. They generally cost a little bit more money and can range anywhere from $80 up to about $150, $200, but it's well worth it. Audio is one of the easiest things you can capture. You would be surprised if you're in a haunted location or a location alone and you ask a series of questions, what you might get back on that recorder. You might be very well amazed. And you can add other pieces as you go along. Certainly, if you're really into it, you'd want to get a very good video camera. That can get quite expensive if you do get a good quality video camera. And that's what I suggest. Do some research on it. There are plenty of good sources out there. There's people on YouTube. There's other websites. There's paranormal groups. But again, do some research before you do invest into some equipment. And I wouldn't just contact one or two people or groups. I would contact several. I would go through a whole list and just compare notes when you go forward. Also, other pieces of equipment you might want to look at. Something here is what we call an EMF meter. And it actually measures electromagnetic frequencies. That can be any type of energy, from electrical to electronics or whatnot. These things are really handy when they pick up something. Of course, they make the little beep sound like that. If you're in a location and you don't have access to electricity, or there's no electronic devices near this, and this thing goes off, they can pick up and do sense paranormal activity, ghostly energy. So it's good to pay attention to these things. It's a good little tool, especially, like I say, if you're not around anything that could, man-made, that could trigger it. Let me give you an example with this. Let me pull over my phone right here, see how it would go off. Just to give you an example of how these things work. And you see it gives off a little. And it's picking up the energy from the phone. And you would know that's a man-made source. So when you're using this, you really need to pay attention to the things that go on around you, your environment, where you're at, if you're near faulty wiring, if you're near an electrical outlet, anything like that. Electronic devices, televisions, anything that's plugged in. Refrigerator, could be an air conditioner, anything could set these off. If you have those things unplugged or disconnected, you know, and it's out by itself, if this is out in the middle of a field or something where there's nothing around and it should pick up something, you know, you might want to pay a little bit more of attention to it then. It's something that would weigh a little bit more and give a little bit more credibility. Another device I'm quite fond of is your trail cam, your motion camera here. I love to set these up on tripods, dark rooms, rooms that are undisturbed, and just let them do their thing. See if they can pick up anything, any kind of motion, detect anything. There are some things that are man-made or, you know, can be rationally explained. There are other things that are picked up that cannot be. But for the money and the buck, these are really good tools to have on an investigation, and I recommend using many of them in different locations. A compass here kind of relates with the EMF meter as well. It's something here you can just simply look at, engage, and see if it does anything unusual without being interacted with. Again, these things do go with energy as well, magnetic energy, and they can move and fluctuate. And that's a pretty good sign too, if you're out alone and it's nothing around anything that can trigger it, that something paranormal may be going on. Talking more about video cameras. I mean, if you get a video camera, again, you want to get a good quality video camera. It can make or break you as a paranormal investigator in obtaining real, concrete, tangible evidence. One of the things you're going to need with a recorder is something that can record in dark, something with an infrared filter, and also too, like I said, where you can use our illuminators such as this right here to help you see in the dark and video as well. What you're recording. These are valuable tools. They can generally run anywhere from $40 to $50, $60, $75, just depending on the quality. So again, it's one of these things you want to research, highly research, before you get out and you purchase something. Here's another one here. It's a little bit smaller. smaller version. These do wonders at nighttime with a video camera. When you're researching too, and you're getting an IR illuminator, and that's what this is, it's an infrared illuminator, you want to look at something that'll cover, pretty much give you a whole distance in view of areas that you can, video and see in the dark. And again, you'll want to pay attention to the distance that it gives you as well. How far can you video record in complete darkness? What's the range that it will give you? Each of these give you different ranges, and it's important you check that out, and it meets the needs that you want to go forward with, what you want to do. Whether you want to video record 30 feet or if you want to go as much as 50 to 100. There are all kind of different illuminators out there to handle such. Good little tool. This is an H2 Zoom recorder, audio recorder. I actually got it on Amazon several years ago. I like it. I paid about $170 for it. It can record in multiple directions. It has a very high sensitivity level, can record in stereo, holds numerous clips. It's easy to use and navigate through. It has a backlight, of which you can see here. It also has a remote that I plug into it where I can just hit the little remote and it'll record and shut off or whatnot, which is really cool. I do like that. It's a very good feature. It's a very good recorder, and it's one that I highly recommend. Now, there are other recorders out there as well that you can look through. You can find several on Amazon, lower price range, anything from Sony. What I'd like to do now is share some audio clips with you that we've captured out in the field with this Zoom H2 recorder. Clips that have been placed back on here, previously captured, that I'd like to play and share for you tonight, get your opinion on, using this little speaker here, which is just perfect for the occasion. I want to share straight up audio, what we call EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. And our definition of that is anytime you go to a location, could be a haunted location, wherever, you use a recorder and you ask a series of questions. You can be alone or with another partner, and you get a response back on that recorder you'd not normally hear. We believe those to be voices of the deceased, and it's actually a term for it. It is termed electronic voice phenomenon, the whole process of doing that, capturing voices from the other side. It's my favorite thing to do with paranormal investigation. Again, I think it's some of the most credible evidence you can get out there, especially when you're all alone. You ask a question, a series of questions, and you get a response on your recorder that you would not normally hear. Now, there have been cases and instances where we've been out in the field and we've heard that response in real time. If you're alone or if you're with another partner and you've heard someone respond to a question, that's called a disembodied voice. It's even more incredible when you capture a disembodied voice if you get it on a recorder to validate that. And we've had situations where we've had such luck. Now I'm going to share with you some of these clips. Again, I'm going to play the first clip, then I'm going to talk a little bit about it, then I'm going to play it again for you to listen to, a brief discussion, and we'll move on to the next clip. Got several here I want to play. So I'm going to start out with the first one. Please be patient with me while I adjust the audio on this, because these recordings could be at different sounds as they were recorded, some louder than others. So just be patient. But I am going to go back to our very first clip and play it, and hopefully it'll...
Is there somebody here with us?
Okay, this first audio clip, this comes from Stonewall Jackson Memorial Cemetery down in Lexington, Virginia. Two paranormal investigators in our group were in the cemetery right before dusk. This was in 2006, actually. And they had brought along some crystals with them and laid on a crypt toward the back end of the cemetery, beyond the statue and memorial of Stonewall Jackson. One of the investigators believes she hears something. You hear her say such, and then you hear a male response in the background with kind of like a gurgle type voice. Let me play that again for you. And I'm going to up the sound, just the volume just a little bit. And here we go.
Is there somebody here with us? crystal.
Now, you may have your own opinion of what you hear. Hopefully you can hear it well enough on here. Our determination after going over it several times was we heard a male voice say, "Did you pick up the crystals?" Again, I'm going to play that one more time. Now that we've said that, you might hear that as well. But here, let me play it one more time.
Is there somebody here with us? Forget the crystal.
And that's that. Next clip, I'll play here for you. All right, this EVP was captured in Doe Hill, Virginia, which is out toward the West Virginia line. It's about 30 some miles from Stanton here. It was captured in an old cemetery on someone's property, cemetery that dated back to the mid 1800s. Not too big, maybe 30 graves in there, anywhere ranging from 1830s upward, but it had a lot of children's graves in the cemetery, many that had died between the ages of 6 and 12. Now, this EVP was captured by a group that was going out to the cemetery just to do a training exercise one evening. They had gotten permission to be in this cemetery. And at the beginning of this clip, you actually will hear two gentlemen kind of talking amongst themselves, moving across the cemetery, and then you will hear a child's voice. Let me play it again one more time. Okay. We get it on our computer, we analyze it, we do things like enhance it, elevate the audio, and loop it. And I'm going to play this following clip that you just listened to looped over and over so you can kind of get an idea of what this voice may be. Okay. Well, after going through it, we believe it to be a pretty good EVP. We believe it's a child whispering, "Come on out and play." One of the better EVPs that's been captured by the group all through the years since we've been investigating. Truly a remarkable EVP, captured in the middle of nowhere. If anybody's familiar with Doe Hill, Virginia, it's in the middle of nowhere. And captured in a cemetery, so, you know, gives it even more credibility. There's no way it could be anything else. So, a good EVP. This next EVP I'm going to play for you, it's a little static in the background. Might be a little bit harder to understand this clip, but let me play it anyways.
I could honestly sleep anytime, anywhere. Sitting on a plane bed.
Well, this particular clip was captured at the Edgar Allan Poe House in Richmond, Virginia, which is a museum dedicated to Edgar Allan Poe. It's got a lot of his belongings or whatnot. The house dates back to the late 1700s. There were several families that lived in there. It's believed to be haunted by those families, not necessarily Edgar Allan Poe, but the families that resided there. In this particular clip, a female investigator begins talking about sleep, and she can sleep through about anything. And then you hear a female voice, a female whisper. I'm going to play it one more time, and then I'll discuss it a little bit more.
I could honestly sleep anytime, anywhere. Sitting on a plane bed.
All right, that female whisper, after we analyzed it on the computer, we hear, "Why don't you wake up?" And then, "I long time sleep." It's a female voice in response to, I guess, the investigator's conversation. She chimed in about, "Why don't you wake up?" and "I long time sleep." Good EVP. Not as good as the other ones quite, but still a good EVP. All right. Let's go to the next one. We only have a few more left. This next one, I'm going to play for you here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it.
You can help me hear you speak.
All right, this was captured at the Fairfield Inn, Fairfield, Pennsylvania, just outside of Gettysburg. It's an old inn dating back to the late 1700s. It's most noted for being a Civil War hospital after the Battle of Gettysburg. Many Confederate soldiers died there, were treated there. Some just left to stay there along the road. On the retreat home from Pennsylvania after the Battle of Gettysburg, retreat by the Confederate Army. That evening, and this EVP, by the way, was captured by me. That evening I was in kind of like a sitting room. I was just sitting at a table all alone, all by myself. And I'm making reference to that I have equipment here, trying to communicate with whoever, but that I have equipment here that can help me hear you speak. I'm going to play it again one more time for you.
You can help me hear you speak.
Well, what we determined that EVP to be is just a repeat of what I said. We heard the word speak in a whisper type tone. A very good EVP. All right, here's our last EVP for the evening that I'd like to share with you. And here it is.
Jeremy, do you like us being here?
All right, I captured this EVP back in 2006 from the Farnsworth House, a B&B located in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It's an old house, early 1800s. It was actually caught in the middle of the battle. It's haunted by several spirits, but one in particular, a little boy named Jeremy, who was about 6 or 7 years old when he got killed out in front of the house. He was run over by a horse carriage while playing a game of tag. Brought into the home a short time later, where he died in the upstairs bedroom. He supposedly haunts, or he's one of the haunts there at the B&B, as well as his father. They say the father took the loss very hard. The dead boy had to be pried from his arms. Now, as soon as we checked in, one of the first things I wanted to do was EVP work. And I start off by asking the question, Jeremy, do you like us being here? You hear a response. And then you hear something a little bit later. I'm going to play it one more time and then I'll discuss it in more detail.
Jeremy, do you like us being here?
All right. What I heard after going through it, having it on the computer and analyzing it with software is, after I asked Jeremy, do you like us being here? He says, uh-huh. And he says, what I believe is I'm bored. There's a few second pause, and then you actually hear him humming, kind of like a doo-doo. Incredible EVP. I did not hear that while that happened. I was fortunate enough to discover it on my recorder when I got home the following Sunday evening. This was actually captured on a Friday evening. Incredible EVP. And that takes care of all the EVPs I want to share with you tonight. I'm going to talk one last thing on audio. Let me turn this off here real quick. And I didn't hit on this tonight. Hopefully when we meet in person, or if I do another one of these, we'll talk much more on that in broad detail. It's about a device called the Spirit Box. If you're not familiar with the Spirit Box, what it is, it's a portable radio that has been hacked. So it continuously scans the AM or FM band. It just goes through it like as you hear it go through it. It cycles through the band, AM or FM. You can run it forward or backwards. The thought process behind it is that spirits can they can manipulate any of the static any of the radio blurbs that come across, and form sentences and words. You've probably seen it on a lot of popular. You've probably seen it on a lot of the popular shows. If you watch any of the shows out there, it's a common device. It's where you can get where you actually can hear more of what you're doing. You can hear that reply. Not necessarily you have to review the recorder, but you hear it right there. Of course, it's always a good idea to review anyways. But I was a big skeptic. A couple of reasons. Number one, it is radio. I think sometimes you can hear what you want to hear. But over the course of doing the Spirit Box for many years, we've had some things come across that just cannot be explained. They're too good to be true. And so I am on board with believing there is something to the Spirit Box. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail with that the next time I see you. In regards, going back to our ghost tours, one of our tours that we offer in October is a Spirit Box tour. We actually do that down at the depot station. We run the box, we play some EVPs, some Spirit Box clips for you that have been captured at previous locations, as well as do a live session down there with you. We give you the history, the stories, the information all about the depot station, and then you participate in a live session where you're able to ask the questions. We record the session, and then we see what comes across the box. Regardless of whether or not you hear anything on the Spirit Box during that tour, we're going to review and analyze the complete audio clip after the tour is over. If there's anything on there that's significant, any type of capture, we'll put it up on the website. It usually takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. You can hear previous clips from previous tours. It's a lot of good stuff on there. The Spirit Box Depot Tour is one of our most popular tours, and we do it in October only, and it does draw big crowds. A lot of fun.